Are you terrified of getting older? Do you feel like time is slipping through your fingers like sand? What if I told you that everything you think you know about aging is wrong? Today, I'm going to share 5 ancient Buddhist truths that will completely transform how you see growing older. These aren't just pretty words. They're life-changing revelations that have helped millions find peace with the passage of time. Stay until the end, because truth number 5 will blow your mind. Let me paint you a picture. You're looking in the mirror, and suddenly you notice a new line around your eyes. Your heart sinks. The reflection staring back seems foreign, older, tired. Or maybe you're at a party, surrounded by people half your age, feeling invisible and forgotten. Their energy seems endless while yours feels depleted. Perhaps you've watched friends drift away, and you're left wondering if your best days are behind you. This fear isn't just yours. It's deeply human. We live in a world that worships youth and treats aging like a disease to be cured. Social media bombards us with images of eternal youth. Anti-aging products promise to turn back time. Society whispers that our value decreases with each passing year. But here's what's beautiful. Thousands of years ago, a prince named Siddhartha faced this exact same terror. He saw old age, sickness, and death, and it shook him to his core. But instead of running from these truths, he embraced them. And what he discovered changed not just his life, but the lives of millions who followed his path. Today, I'm going to share these ancient secrets with you. Buddhist truth number 1, the beauty of impermanence. The first truth is anicca, impermanence. Everything changes. Your smooth skin, your quick reflexes, your sharp memory. They all flow like a river. But here's the miracle. This isn't your enemy. It's your greatest teacher. Let me tell you about impermanence in a way that will shift your entire perspective. In Buddhist philosophy, impermanence isn't a cruel joke played by nature. It's the very essence of life's beauty. Think about a sunset. Would it be beautiful if it lasted forever? No. Its beauty lies in its fleeting nature. The same is true for you. Your youth was precious precisely because it couldn't last. And your current self, with all its changes, is equally precious for the same reason. I met an 80-year-old woman named Grace who told me something profound. She said, "I spent my 20s worried about my 30s, my 30s worried about my 40s, and so on. One day I realized I had wasted decades of my life fearing the future instead of living in the present." Grace's revelation came during a meditation retreat when she was 65. She had been battling depression about her aging body when a teacher asked her to observe a flower for an entire hour. At first, Grace told me, I was impatient, but then I began to notice everything. How the petals weren't perfect, how some were already browning at the edges, how the stem had small imperfections. And suddenly I realized that these flaws weren't flaws at all. They were what made the flower real, authentic, beautiful. That's when I understood that my wrinkles and gray hair weren't signs of failure. They were signs of having lived. When you truly understand impermanence, you stop fighting the river of time. You start flowing with it. You begin to see that every wrinkle is a story written by laughter and concern. Every gray hair is wisdom earned through experience. Every slower step is a reminder to savor the journey rather than rush to an imaginary destination. Consider this. The cells in your body are constantly changing. The person you were 7 years ago shares not a single cell with who you are today. You are literally a new being, continuously recreated. If you can accept this constant physical change, why not embrace the change that comes with age? The Buddhist master Thich Nhat Hanh teaches us to see impermanence as a friend. Without it, nothing beautiful could exist. Without it, you would never have experienced the joy of childhood, the passion of youth, or the wisdom that comes with maturity. Impermanence is not your enemy. It's the canvas on which your life's masterpiece is painted. Buddhist truth number 2, attachment is the root of suffering. The Buddha taught that our suffering comes not from change itself, but from our attachment to things staying the same. We cling to our 25-year-old bodies, our endless energy, our carefree spirits. But imagine holding water in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips away. Here's a story that will change your perspective forever. There was once a master potter who created the most beautiful vases. One day, his student asked, "Master, how can you bear to see your creations break?" The master smiled and said, "I see them as already broken. This allows me to enjoy their beauty without the pain of loss." This isn't pessimism, it's profound wisdom. When you understand that everything is temporary, you stop wasting energy trying to preserve the unpreservable. Instead, you invest that energy in appreciating what you have right now. Let me share the story of David, a 58-year-old former athlete who came to Buddhism after a knee injury ended his running career. For months, he was consumed by grief for his lost speed, his lost identity as a runner. "I kept thinking about my marathon times, my medals, my perfect form," he told me. "I was so attached to being the runner that I forgot I was still David." Through Buddhist practice, David learned to release his attachment to his former physical abilities. "It wasn't easy," he admits. "But when I stopped mourning what I'd lost, I discovered what I'd gained. I became a mentor to young runners. I started writing about the spiritual aspects of sport. I found a deeper connection to my wife and children because I wasn't always training or traveling to races." What if you could see your life this way? What if instead of mourning the loss of youth, you celebrated the gift of having experienced it? What if instead of fearing the changes in your body, you marveled at all the adventures it has carried you through? Your body has danced at weddings, held crying babies, climbed mountains, made love, created art. It deserves gratitude, not criticism. Attachment shows up in subtle ways too. Maybe you're attached to being the smartest person in the room, but find your memory isn't as sharp. Maybe you're attached to being needed by your children, but they've grown independent. Maybe you're attached to your appearance, but gravity and time have had their way. Buddhist teacher Pema Chodron says, "You are the sky, everything else is just the weather. Your attachments are like storms. They feel overwhelming when you're in them, but they pass. Your essential self, like the sky, remains unchanged and vast." When you release attachment to staying young, something magical happens. You discover that happiness isn't about looking 20 forever. It's about finding joy in whatever age you are right now. You stop trying to be who you were and start embracing who you're becoming. Buddhist truth number 3, the wisdom of acceptance. Acceptance isn't giving up. It's the ultimate act of courage. It's looking at your reflection and saying, "This is me, and I am enough." It's feeling your body slow down and thinking, "Thank you for carrying me this far." But let's be honest, acceptance is one of the hardest spiritual practices. Our minds are trained to resist, to fight, to control. We've been taught that acceptance means defeat. But in Buddhism, acceptance is victory over the tyranny of constant struggle. Let me share Sarah's story. At 55, she was devastated by her divorce and felt like her life was over. I looked in the mirror and saw a middle-aged woman with gray streaks and laugh lines, and I thought, "Who would ever want me now?" She recalls. She spent months fighting reality, trying to turn back time. She underwent expensive cosmetic procedures, dated men half her age, and exhausted herself trying to recapture her youth. Then she discovered Buddhist meditation. At first, sitting still with her feelings felt like torture. All my fears about aging, about being alone, about being unlovable, they all came flooding up, she says. But her teacher guided her to observe these feelings without judgment, to accept her new life without resistance. The breakthrough came during a meditation retreat, Sarah explains. I was sitting there feeling sorry for myself when the teacher said, "What if this moment, exactly as it is perfect?" I wanted to argue, but then I really looked at my life. Yes, I was divorced. Yes, I was aging. But I was also alive, healthy, surrounded by people on a similar journey. I realized I had been so busy fighting, what was that I missed what could be? Today, Sarah tells me those were the most transformative years of her life. She started painting, something she'd always wanted to do but never had time for when she was focused on maintaining her marriage. She made deeper friendships than she'd ever had, bonds forged not by convenience, but by genuine connection. She fell in love again, not with someone else first, but with herself. I learned to see my face not as a collection of flaws, but as a map of my experiences, she says. These lines around my eyes, they're from decades of laughter, This gray hair? It's a crown of wisdom. These hands that aren't as smooth as they once were, they've comforted children, created beauty, and held so much love. Acceptance doesn't mean you stop taking care of yourself. It means you stop exhausting yourself fighting battles you can't win. You eat well because you love your body, not because you hate it. You exercise because it feels good, not because you're trying to stop time. You dress beautifully because you honor yourself, not because you're trying to compete with younger versions of yourself. The Buddhist concept of acceptance includes something called radical acceptance, accepting not just the pleasant aspects of aging, but the difficult ones too. The physical limitations, the losses, the approaching mortality. This isn't morbid, it's liberating. When you stop fearing these realities, you stop living in fear. Buddhist truth number 4, relationships in the art of letting go. One of the hardest parts of aging is watching relationships change. Friends move away, some people drift apart, others pass away. Your children grow up and build their own lives. Your parents age and may need your care. Your social circle might feel smaller, and loneliness can creep in like morning fog. But Buddhism teaches us something revolutionary about relationships and loss. Love is like a river. It flows, it changes course, but it never truly disappears. The love you shared with old friends doesn't vanish when they're gone. It becomes part of who you are. Every relationship leaves an imprint on your soul, shaping you in ways that last forever. I think of my grandmother, who lived to be 95. In her final years, many of her friends had passed away. Her husband of 60 years was gone. Some of her children lived far away, but she never seemed lonely. When I asked her why, she said, "Darling, I carry all my loved ones with me. Every laugh we shared, every hug we exchanged, every moment of joy, it's all still here in my heart. They're not gone. They're just love in a different form." This is the Buddhist understanding of love. It transcends physical presence. But it's not just about those who have died. It's about understanding that relationships naturally evolve. Your best friend from college might live across the country now. Your children might call less frequently. Your romantic relationships might change form. This isn't failure. It's the natural flow of life. Let me tell you about Margaret, a 67-year-old widow who struggled with loneliness after her husband died. "We did everything together for 40 years, she told me. When he was gone, I didn't know how to be alone. I felt like half of me was missing." Margaret's journey through grief led her to a Buddhist community where she learned about interconnectedness. The idea that we're never truly alone because we're part of a vast web of relationships and influences. I started to see that my husband wasn't gone. He was in every habit he'd influenced, every value he'd shared with me, every way he'd shaped how I see the world, Margaret explains. And I realized that my capacity for love hadn't died with him. It was just waiting for new expressions. Margaret began volunteering at a hospice, where she found that her experience with loss made her uniquely qualified to comfort others. She developed deep friendships with other volunteers, bonds forged through service and compassion. "I thought my love life was over," she says, "but it just transformed. I love in ways I never knew possible." Here's the beautiful part about relationships and aging. As you get older, you become more selective about who you let into your inner circle. You stop wasting time on surface-level connections and invest in bonds that truly nourish your spirit. You learn to have difficult conversations because you know time is precious. You forgive more easily because holding grudges feels pointless. You express love more freely because you understand its value. Quality over quantity becomes your motto. You realize that having 3 deep, meaningful friendships is worth more than 30 shallow ones. You learn to cherish the people who choose to walk alongside you on this journey of life. And you discover that the best relationships of your life might still be ahead of you. Relationships based on depth, wisdom, and mutual respect rather than just convenience or physical attraction. The Buddhist practice of loving-kindness meditation can transform how you relate to others. You learn to send love to difficult people, to forgive those who have hurt you, and to appreciate the lessons every relationship has taught you. You understand that every person who has touched your life, even briefly, has contributed to who you are today. Buddhist truth number 5. Death is a teacher, not an enemy. This is the truth that changes everything. the one that makes all the other truths fall into place. In Buddhism, death isn't the opposite of life, it's the completion of it. Knowing that our time is limited doesn't make life less precious. It makes every moment infinitely more valuable. Most people spend their lives running from the thought of death, but Buddhism teaches us to befriend it. The Buddha himself said, "Of all footprints, that of the elephant is supreme. Similarly, of all mindfulness meditations, that on death is supreme." This isn't morbid fascination, it's practical wisdom. Steve Jobs, in his famous Stanford speech, said, "Remembering that you are going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose." This is pure Buddhist wisdom in modern words. When you truly accept that your time here is temporary, something incredible happens. You stop postponing joy. You stop waiting for the right moment to tell someone you love them. You stop putting off that trip, that hobby, that dream. Let me share Robert's transformative story. He was 68 when diagnosed with cancer, and his initial reaction was pure terror. "I had spent my whole life avoiding thoughts of death," he told me. "I worked constantly, saved for a retirement that suddenly seemed uncertain, and took my health for granted." But Robert's oncologist, who happened to practice Buddhist meditation, introduced him to the concept of death as a teacher. "At first I thought it was crazy," Robert admits. "How could death teach me anything except fear? But as I started meditating on mortality, something shifted. I stopped worrying about my receding hairline and started appreciating my beating heart. I stopped complaining about my slow walks and started enjoying the birds singing along the path. I began to see that I had been so busy preparing for life that I had forgotten to live it." Robert's cancer went into remission, but the lessons remain. "People think having cancer was the worst thing that happened to me," he says. "But it was actually the best. It woke me up. It taught me that every breath is borrowed time, every sunset is a gift, every conversation is a treasure." Death as a teacher shows us that aging isn't about losing time. It's about gaining wisdom, depth, and appreciation for the miracle of existence. It teaches us to value presence over possessions, experiences over achievements, love over status. When you know that everything is temporary, you stop taking anything for granted. The Buddhist meditation on death isn't meant to frighten you. It's meant to liberate you. When you accept that you will die, you also accept that you are alive right now. This moment, this breath, this heartbeat, they're not guaranteed, which makes them precious beyond measure. I think of a Buddhist teacher who was asked what he had learned from 40 years of death meditation. He smiled and said, "I learned that I'm not afraid of death anymore. But more importantly, I learned that I'm not afraid of life either. When you accept the end of the story, you can finally enjoy the chapters you're living." Consider this perspective. You have been dying since the moment you were born. Every day brings you closer to your end. This isn't tragic. It's the natural order of things. What's tragic is living as if you were immortal, postponing joy and love and authenticity until some imaginary future when conditions are perfect. The awareness of death also brings incredible compassion. When you realize that everyone you meet is also mortal, also struggling with the passage of time, also facing loss and limitation, how can you not feel kindness toward them? How can you waste energy on petty grudges or superficial judgments? Now imagine living with these 5 truths as your guide. Picture waking up each morning, not with dread about getting older, but with gratitude for another day of experience. Imagine looking in the mirror and seeing not what you've lost, but what you've gained. Wisdom lines that map your journey, silver hair that crowns your experience, eyes that hold depths your younger self never knew. Think about the freedom this brings. You no longer waste energy trying to be someone you're not or competing with impossible standards. You no longer compare yourself to your younger self or to others who are on completely different journeys. You understand that your worth isn't measured by your age, your appearance, or your physical abilities. It's measured by the love you give, the kindness you show, the wisdom you share, the presence you bring to each moment. This is what the Buddha discovered under that Bodhi tree. That suffering comes from fighting reality, and peace comes from embracing it. Aging isn't your enemy. It's your teacher, your guide, your path to deeper understanding. Every limitation becomes an invitation to discover new possibilities. Every loss becomes an opportunity to appreciate what remains. Every challenge becomes a chance to develop resilience and compassion. Consider how this transformation might look in your daily life. Instead of avoiding mirrors, you might look at your reflection with curiosity and kindness. Instead of hiding your age, you might wear it proudly as a badge of survival and growth. Instead of trying to keep up with younger people, you might appreciate the unique gifts that come with your stage of life. You have a choice right now. You can continue fighting the river of time, exhausting yourself swimming against an unstoppable current. Or you can learn to float, to flow, to find beauty in the journey itself. You can discover that the best chapters of your life might still be unwritten, that your most profound love might still be ahead, that your greatest contributions might still be waiting to be born. Many people discover that their 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond are their most fulfilling years. Free from the pressures of building careers and raising children, they finally have time to pursue their true passions. Free from the need to prove themselves, they can simply be themselves. Free from the illusion of immortality, they can appreciate each day as the gift it truly is. So how do you start living these truths today? Begin with one breath, one moment of acceptance. Look at yourself with compassion instead of criticism. Thank your body for all it has done instead of focusing on what it can't do anymore. Reach out to someone you love instead of dwelling on those who are gone. Practice meditation, even if it's just 5 minutes a day. Sit quietly and observe your thoughts about aging without judgment. Notice where you're fighting reality and gently let go. Practice gratitude for the experiences that have shaped you. Send loving kindness to your younger self, your current self, and the person you're becoming. Remember, every master was once a beginner. Every wise elder was once afraid of aging. The difference is that they learned to see aging not as an ending, but as a deepening. Not as a loss, but as a transformation. Not as something to fear, but as something to embrace with curiosity and grace. Your age is not your prison. It's your liberation from the exhausting pursuit of youth. Your wrinkles are not your shame. They're your story written in the skin and time. Your slower pace is not your weakness. It's your wisdom to savor life more fully, to notice what you once rushed past, to be present in ways you never were when you were hurrying towards some imaginary destination. If these Buddhist truths have opened your eyes to a new way of seeing aging, I want to hear about it. Drop a comment below and share which truth resonated with you most. Was it the beauty of impermanence? The freedom of letting go? The wisdom of acceptance? Your story could inspire someone else who's struggling with the fear of getting older. And if this video has given you a new perspective on aging, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more life-changing wisdom. Remember, growing older isn't about losing your youth. It's about gaining your depth. Until next time, embrace the journey.